This tweeted out here so everybody can join in. 1 second. All right, awesome. 1 second. All right, good. All right, so good stuff. All right, well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. So today we're going to be continuing our conversation that we started on Monday, because we didn't do the Elliott Wave show until last night. So we've been talking about navigating all-time highs, but however, on Monday we did get a little Elliott Wave action in there, and we did talk about Elliott Wave for navigating all-time highs. And yesterday was a really helpful discussion to kind of add on to that about where these extensions, about how we draw these extensions, and I think Paul Alga382 did a fantastic job of describing that. So good stuff there. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about navigating all-time highs with trend lines. So before we get started, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. All right, awesome. Good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see where we left off in the market here today, and then we're going to take a look at the futures and see what we're up to or down to here this evening, and see what we might be setting up going into tomorrow morning. And then we're going to go through the topic, and then we'll take questions and chart requests. So let's get started. All right, so SPX again, guys, still looking bullish here on the monthly chart. Again, we're back over the upper Bollinger Band, still green right here. The weekly chart is kind of the big one that we're really kind of keeping an eye on right here. We had the bearish engulfing week a couple weeks ago, and then we completely countered that 2 weeks ago with a big green candle. We're getting a little bit of kind of choppy follow through. It reminds me a lot of this green candle here. Again, that choppy follow through, right? So it continued to work its way up after that. But basically, what we're looking at here on the daily chart is what's going on, right? Are we, is this subwave 1? Is it of 5? Is it done yet? And really the only way we're going to know is, right, if we start to see some more volume here push below the ADMA, right, and see if this trend really starts to shift its way down. But in the meantime, we're still holding the ADMA, and we actually turned into a hammer right off of it here today, so it ended up being a pretty good bounce. We still have an open gap right here and here, but right now everything is still being defended. So, and it ended up being pretty wild V reversal here today. So again, almost unexpected. It didn't really feel like it when it was happening. There wasn't a lot of volume that was coming in, but it just did. Just got over the ADMA and just did what it's used to doing, just going up, right? So we had a gap down here this morning. We eventually faded that closing gap right here. We filled the open gap early, reversed off of that, and we kind of faded this this closing gap here into the end of the day. So good stuff there. Let's take a look at the S&P futures and see what we were looking at here going in today. So there's a couple cool moves. I mean, it was a tough session, right? It was a choppy session. They didn't make it easy. They took a big move off the got a lot of meat off the bone here early, right? That took out this geometric line right here early on pre-market, right? Even on good retail sales numbers, right? So that kind of worked its way down there. We bounced off of our signal zone into the open right there. Then we got this kind of choppy price action, a couple quick little moves to the downside, right? And then we consolidated here for a little bit, and then we started to go. But it was like, were we going to pull off the signal zone here? Well, we ended up holding the prior overnight low, and then we just started to build off of that, off a zone, a level. So right now, going into tonight, we're up about 6 points right here, and we talked about one of the key levels for us to get above was this macro geometric line right here. We actually had a nice little push right here for a good 2-3 points just out of that, and let's see if that can hold going into this evening. So if that can hold, right, and we can hold this going into tonight, we can see some bullish activity going into tomorrow. So good stuff there. All right, so good. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is going to be a continuation on our series here on navigating all-time highs, and today we're going to talk about with trend lines, right? So we've done a lot of series on trend lines before, and I think it's really important just to kind of review, the proper way to draw trend lines, right? And there's two things that we have to call this: trend lines, there's geometric lines. So geometric lines are basically where you take a turning point, you just draw a line between them, right? And those are kind of like the DeMark trend lines that we talked about last week, those geometric lines, right? So there's that, and then there's the trend line. So the trend line is where this was actually a trend line right here, where you go to a recent turning point low, right, and you go to the very high, and then all you do is you pull it over until it finds a point that it is not intersecting other points, and there's your trend line. Okay, so this is a very powerful tool, and the reason I mention this is because when we're navigating at all-time highs, we really want to make sure the trend is still in play, especially at all-time highs, because eventually a top is going to come in at all-time highs, right? That's why they call it all-time highs, right? Because and next time you go back there, right, if you break it, then you get a new all-time high, right? So that's the idea. And the point is that we're not going to see any sort of like major crash, right, until we break a trend line, right? So it's always going to be that way. It always has been, right? It just can't happen. You can't crash until you break a trend line, right? So that's why we draw them, and that's why we pay attention to them, right? So if you go back all the way back to the, I'm not sure how far back I can go here. One second. Let's go back here to the Corona crash. Okay, so with the Corona crash, right, there was a couple interesting trend lines right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do I'm going to create a new drawing right here. Let's go here. Clear this drawing set here. Okay, so what we do is this was basically from the turning point here from 2018 all the way before the Corona crash, right? So there was clearly a macro trend line just we have right now, right? You go to the highs from the lows and you find a point that doesn't intersect anything, right? So here's your first move right here. And then it had a bump line, right? So the bump line is just another trend line, right, from here, right? Okay, so that had that. And then it had a triple bump line, right? So that was another big move. That got things started. Okay, so, not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily going to be the top at that point right here, but you had a macro trend line right here. And so what we do is we had three bump lines on the so we had three trend lines that got broken, right? The first one was the shot across the bow, right? So this happened back in at the end of February 2020, so basically a year ago from today, right? So we broke down below this trend line here, right? We talked about how to draw trend lines, and what that does is it creates a trend box, right? So if you guys have seen me draw on Twitter the trend boxes, right? Once you break the trend line, right, that's your first area right there of interest, right? And until you can close under that trend box with volume, right, you stay in the trend box, right? So that's the idea right there. So we actually did end up closing below here. If you go back to the 21st, you can't see volume on the SPX, but if you go back to the SPY, you can see here on the 21st, we did close below that trend box here, and you can see the volume was almost double that day. There was something going on with this to get things started, right? So that's the idea with that. And then once we broke that, right, we gapped down below the next bump line. That was a huge signal that things were getting ready to work their way down, right? And then we continued to close again. We had a fresh trend box right here from the highs to lows off of this trend box, right? We clearly closed below here with increased volume, and then we got a nice push down, right, to start the wave down, a retest of this level, inside candle, breakdown below it, and then it was just all over from there, right? So everything starts with a trend line, right? A trend line breakdown. So when we're navigating these all-time highs, we have to pay very, very close attention to these, right? And where we are, right? So like we showed earlier, we had the macro trend line, and now, right, what we're seeing here is basically this, right? Here's your highs, here's your most recent intersection point right here. And we got pretty close today, right? So we got pretty close here to breaking down, right? Here's your kind of yesterday was kind of like the first move right here, and we just couldn't close below it with any sort of increase in volume. So they ended up buying the dip today here off of the ADMA, and that's a very, very important level to notice, right? So definitely one that we're keeping an eye on here, and we're going to continue to monitor these trend lines going into as we continue to navigate these all-time highs. To track to see when the top is going to be in. So things are getting a little interesting right here. Like I said, we're 1 year from the Corona crash, and we're looking at a similar bump line here, right, that we saw the last time, and then we got another trend line right here to here to here. Right, so we basically are looking at almost the exact same thing that we saw a year ago, right? We've got the macro trend line, we've got one bump line, and then we've got a second bump line right here. Now, is it as steep? No, not really, but is it as meaningful? It could be, right? So we definitely want to keep an eye on these levels right here. You could potentially say that this is a fresh trend box right here because we are below the bump line, and we didn't close below it with increased volume, so you can kind of go like this. So keep an eye on it here. If we close below these levels with increased volume, we might work our way to the next bump line, and then of course below the macro trend line, things could start to change. So good stuff there. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have to talk about for this evening. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window. We'll get through as many as we can and try to wrap up as early as possible so we can all get a good night's sleep and have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So good stuff. All right. So let's take a look here. So let's see, let's go to the daily chart here. So Shirley sent a few in here via email. So Shirley, I hope everything's going well out there. So you've got a few on the radar right here. Let's take a look at PSX. So it's sort of like SPX, just a little word shuffle and a little letter shuffle on that one. So word jumble. So yeah, so again, oil names have been generally pretty strong, right? So that's kind of one of the things that we're looking at here. Again, recent move to the upside right here. We've got a kind of a good push. Let's see if we can continue to hold trend right here. Again, we're still over the 80-man on that one. Let's take a look at VIAC. VIAC, again, been pretty epic right here, right? A lot of nice strong moves up here. Just a again, the volume's kind of tapering down a little bit. I do like how we closed at fresh highs up here. Let's see if it continue to go. Again, these some of these telecom names, some of these media names have been pretty epic here recently. So again, good moves there today. Again, AT&T was big today. Verizon was big today as well. So good stuff there. Macy's again just kind of chopping around right now. We're under the ADMA. We're coming up to earnings, so I'd be a little bit cautious with that one. Some of the airlines really had a pretty good push here today too. Boeing had a nice little pop here today as well. Again, a couple things here. We broke out of this recent geometric line. It was getting kind of tight in this area. It's kind of grinding its way up, holding trend pretty decently, right? So let's just kind of see if that can hold right there, stay over the ADMA on the airlines. Again, this is a tricky industry right now. So, but any stimulus news as they kind of approach that still continues to help bolster that market right there. Freeport McMoran, so copper and gold, guys. This name's actually a good one to keep on the radar. A lot of these metal type names have been really, really strong recently. I mean, this was kind of a cheapo name recently. It's starting to get over, it's kind of tripled in value recently if you think about it. So holding the ABA is still holding trend. So good stuff there. Definitely one to keep on the radar there. So good stuff. Good. So Mike, what's going on? Good to see you. Good evening. Hope you're doing great. Yeah, I'll say with Tesla. So thanks so much to Kathy for Auntie Kathy for pumping this a little bit here on CNBC today. Gave it a nice little bounce right there, but really cool stuff. It bounced right off the 50-day moving average. You got to love algos. Love that line right there. So good move right there. Got back above that 780 pivot level right here. Very, very good move. It had a weak couple days. Let's see if they can try to build this one up here and maybe give us some action into Thursday and Friday, which are typically fun Tesla trading days. Amazon, yeah, so a big move on Amazon here, guys. This thing might be gearing up for a bigger move. This had relative strength today when everything else was weak. Amazon didn't care. It just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. So it was a pretty strong day for Amazon today. Again, the big thing that we're tracking here, right, is the triangle breakout, right? We went from triangle bottom to high, right? And then what it looks like here is a 1-2-1-2. So let's see if we can get that follow through on Amazon finally. It would be great. So definitely one that we're tracking here too. So good stuff, Mike. And we may as well, while you're here, we may as well take a look at CCL. Still continuing to get some nice upside movement, right? Remember we talked about the channels yesterday, retest and then up. So again, a pretty amazing stuff here to see the cruise line still going. But anyway, love it. Good stuff. Rich, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, let's take a look at Boeing. So this is great, guys. We talked about this last night. We talked about the potential for this thing pushing, and it really did push intraday. It gave a great opportunity for a day trade on a really fast move up here today, and then it just kind of got choppy right here. So, one of the things that we're looking at is, how is it operating in this wave 5, this potential wave 5, sub wave 5 up, right? So one of the things that we want to do is, go to the shorter time frames and kind of look and see what's doing here. So we got this 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, this could be 5, right, and we could be working on a running flat right here. So we're basically looking right now to see if this is the next wave up. And so we have this 1, 2, 3, 4 possible leading diagonals. So we really need to see if this can get some extra strength going into tomorrow. I'd like to see it get over that geometric line up here and get over today's highs and really start to get going on Boeing to really prove if it wants to finish that that wave 5 up. Let's take a look at Tilray. So Tilray. Let's take a look at here. So a pretty epic move recently, and I think they had a miss on earnings, but it doesn't matter. It was better than they were expecting. So Tilray up after hours, right? So up a good 3-4 points here. Let's see where we open tomorrow if we could potentially get a gap and go. Right now it doesn't look that promising, but it's nice to see it moving up, and that could help the pot sector going into tomorrow. So that could be pretty good there. And then AAL, yeah, that's another good one too. Like the J Blue that Shirley mentioned a little bit earlier. Another airline stock that had a pretty good push here today. Let's see if we can get any follow through going into tomorrow, right? I like how it's holding the ADMA on that one. So good stuff there. Appreciate it. Christina, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, let's take a look at MViz. So MViz, again, just this epic mover to the upside. Again, just crazy wild name. And had this big blast off early, right? Big volume, then just chopped, and then finally started going again not too long ago, basically into this area right here with increased volume, and has been holding the ADMA since. So just kind of see how that holds, these levels, and if it can continue working that. Otherwise, look for some volume breakdowns, and it's got some open gaps below that it might want to start testing below. So good stuff there. Brandon, what's going on? Good to see you. Long time no see you. I hope you're doing great. The mother of all inverse head and shoulders. Oh yeah, this is great. So we actually talked about this in our group today. We went all the way out to the weekly chart today on this one. You can see we drew it right here. It is huge, right? So this is a weekly inverse head and shoulders pattern right here. We got the shoulder, the head, the shoulder on the weekly chart. This thing could be really going for a crazy mega move on this one. So good find on that one. Yeah, let's see if KHC is ready to get going. It might take a while. This thing's but these days, any stock has been pretty wild. So good stuff there. Yeah, big move on that one. Great find. I love it. So yeah, what's going on? CCIV. Let's take a look. So CCIV. Yeah, nice pause candle right here. Let's see if it can continue to work its way up again. This thing was hot yesterday, and could be a pause candle going into tomorrow. So let's keep an eye on that one. Let's take a look at Nokia. So Nokia get that huge move up recently, right, with all the GameStop stuff, right, all the Reddit stuff, and just kind of came back down here after earnings, kind of just chopping around right here. So keep an eye on it. Wait for it to maybe get a little bit of action again. But that was a pretty wild move on that one too. ACIC, let's take a look. ACIC, lots of red candles on that one. I'd be careful with that. It might get lucky with a gap up or something like that, but just be careful with all those. And Airbnb, possibly a 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. I mean, this thing has been pretty epic. So let's see if it holds. The only thing I don't like is the increased volume on a red candle below the 8 EMA. So a little bit of caution with that one there too. So let's see if it can get going. Good stuff. Anki, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing great. Mohammed, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, let's take a look at PayPal. Let's take a look at see how that's doing here. So PayPal, again, pretty epic, right? Still holding the 8 EMA. Some good pushes here since earnings. And let's just see if we continue to hold the 8 EMA. And otherwise, you got that below there. You've got that gap to contend with, right? So, and AMD has just been kind of struggling, right? So it gave a good push right here. Tried to get out of the daily cloud with some volume and could not get any follow through. And 2 days later, it's back below the 8 EMA and possibly going to test the bottom of the daily cloud. Okay, so definitely something to keep an eye on there. Good stuff. Ellery, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, let's take a look at Fisker. Let's take a look at FSR and see how that's doing. So, again, they had a big move yesterday or a couple days ago with the stake from the owner, but it's hanging in here, right? Still kind of retesting this congestion zone, this consolidation zone. So let's see how that goes on that one. And PSTH, let's take a look. A couple big moves on this one. Inside day here, so just kind of see how it holds those inside day levels going into tomorrow. So good stuff there. And Vkash, what's going on? SNDL, let's take a look. So SNDL, yeah, a little bit of a breakdown here below the 8 EMA. We'll see how it goes. Kind of decreasing volume. That is kind of good for it. Maybe this will get a nice little move. It's up 7 cents after hours, possibly on that Tilray move. So keep an eye on it. See if it moves in sympathy with Tilray tomorrow. If Tilray doesn't reverse. So good stuff there. Andrew, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, Dkng. This thing loves to move in waves. I mean, it really does. It'll grind its way up. It'll flush its way down. It'll grind its way up. It'll flush its way back down again. So again, we're below the 50-day moving average. See how it holds the cloud. If it breaks down below the cloud, watch your 200-day on Dkng. And then FSLY with earnings, even though it really wasn't on the calendar, they reported tonight and. They had good earnings, bad revenues. They're kind of drooping down a little bit here today. So see how it holds on FSOY. See if they try to buy the dip here off of the cloud. Otherwise, same thing. If they break down below there, you might see the 200-day on that one as well. So good stuff. So Anki, yeah, so let's take a look, see what you got. So you got Amazon again, huge relative strength today. Again, back over the ADMA. Could get some follow through, especially if the market gets strong again. AQB, right? So here's another one, right? So this is a interesting potential reversal candle right here. Let's even get back over the cloud and get over these levels, the 80 MA and the 50-day. That would be great for it. And then Facebook, decent, right? So decent on Facebook. Yesterday was the first kind of breakout day. Today, kind of hanging in here, and we really just want to see this thing get over the cloud, right? That's kind of what we're waiting on here for Facebook. And then Snow. Snow with a decent bounce here off of the gap area, right? So just got kind of just tagged the gap right here. I think the high was 283.20. Today's low was 283.27, so just missed the gap fill by 7 cents. So see what holds right here. Still in the ADMA. Watch if it turns into a doji sandwich to the downside. So good stuff there. Sharon, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, EH, what a flush yesterday, and then a big rebound today, right off of the 50-day moving average. You gotta love it. So some of our members bought the dip this morning, pre-market, and then just really just continued to rally its way up. Again, had a big short, report on it recently, and they're kind of buying it back up. But again, why is this thing up as high as it is anyway? So, but anyway, interesting stuff right there. So Sharon, yeah, SOS, another one too. Crazy candle on this one here today. Big engulfing candle, right? But watch that real body. It is still working its way up here. I just be careful with the red candle on that one unless it can push over today's highs. So good stuff there. So Mike, yeah, CCL had an update on that one. Had a couple good days on it. Nice. So watch the 25.28 level from 6.820. Nice. Yeah, that could be a real good breakout level for it, which would be pretty wild considering it's like, I mean, have they even like run a cruise ship recently. So anyway, it's amazing. But this market is like Willy Wonka's stock market. So good stuff there. Sean, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's take a look at NEO. Yeah, so NEO broke down a little bit here today. It was looking weak yesterday, right, with increasing volume below the 80 MA. So got a little follow through right here. It is finding some support in this area right now. So just see how it holds, and if it does break down some more, it might kind of come down and test this cloud area. It does have earnings coming up in March, so keep that on the radar there too. And then DKNG. Open gap below, right? So this thing, is just kind of gearing up. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4 type move, and it's ready for a wave 5. Otherwise, if it starts to push into the gap right here and then get below the gap and get below 50, just kind of watch out. So it's a tricky mover right here to see if it starts to get strong and gives any sort of good move on it. Good stuff there. And then PTE, let's take a look. PTE, nice bounce here off of the ADMA today. Again, kind of a cheap name, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And then AT&T, big mover today, right? Big move on AT&T today. So started to break out over this geometric line. Good volume on it coming in. It was a big day today for AT&T. So let's see if it maybe gives you a pause day and get ready to go. So good stuff there. I love it. So and then GG, yeah, SPY. So same thing, right? This is one thing we kind of spent some time analyzing here today. The big thing here with the SPX, right, is our trend lines, right? So we really just want to see, what's going on up here, right? We got a fresh trend box here today after the recovery, right? So if we break down below here with volume on the SPY, right, we might get to this bump line right here. Again, below this bump line, we make it to this one, below this one, the macro trend line, right? We could start seeing a trend shift, right? So just kind of keep an eye out for that. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything's really lurking out there. At least before the Corona crash, we knew Corona was out there, and people were starting to get worried about it, right? So that was kind of one of the big things. So now, I mean, it's just kind of like, are we worried about more stimulus or something? Yeah, I mean, so anyway, so we'll keep an eye on it and see how it goes. But good stuff. So Vikash, what's going on? Yeah, my pleasure. Sharon, hey, my pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Andrew, yeah, thanks so much. Mustafa, what's going on? Yeah, I'll say we'll get Piton. Yeah, so Piton's looking interesting. We definitely want to keep this on the dip buy radar. This is one of the, if you guys saw our recent series on breakout candles, Piton loves to do these breakout candles and reverse off it. Breakout, reverse, right? This thing will trick you, right? So this is why we also don't buy candles that are not clearly forming, right? And because it didn't break out of a geometric line right here, but at the same time, no confirmation, right? So it gave a strong candle and pulled back. So we're still looking at this one for a potential dip buy. At this point now, I'd probably just wait. I just really want to wait and see if we can get back over the ADMA and possibly get over this geometric line. So that's the big thing I'm looking at here on Piton. So good stuff. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in this evening. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you guys are new here, definitely click subscribe on YouTube and be sure to hit the notification button because we put videos out throughout the day that can be helpful throughout your trading day and also keep you up to date on the market. So really appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow for Bubble Report members, and we'll also see you guys in the streams and the Discord. And even if you guys aren't part of that group, we'll still see you here on YouTube and in Twitter for the Good Morning Market Prep video. So until then, guys, hope everybody has a wonderful evening and stay healthy out there. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And we'll talk to you guys soon.